after the film NH10, I didn't have a smartphone for 5 years. To earn money as an actor, you need to act. An artist needs to have an element of mystery. If you're getting a salary for putting up a post, I would rather shoot 2 or 3 days and get the same amount.
You've never done a project for money?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Hi, Neil.
Bani,
Welcome to After Hours.
thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming. I've been following your work for a very long time. And I have to say, the first time that I think that, I really thought you were brilliant because it was like a big film that you did was NH10. So back in the day,
Yes,
when you did that film, I was just like, oh, like, who is he? He's phenomenal.
thank you.
But so thank you for agreeing to have this chat with us.
No, I mean, I've messaged you and said thank you, but I want to say thank you on your show also. Because I don't know whether anybody actually wants to know the artist these days.
Really?
Yeah,
No, I really want to get to know you better.
then you ask away.
How are you feeling today? Let's start with that.
Good, good. I came in from some rehearsals which I was doing out of town, and this morning I bunked my rehearsals to be on your show. So,
Privileged.
it's good, and I'm feeling pretty calm.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's a great day to have a chat.
And how are you feeling in life in general?
Oh, wow, no one's asked me that.
Really?
Yeah, I feel good. It's I was talking to my brother Mahesh on the way here
Hmm.
to the studio, and I was like, man, I think in life you got to do some extra things like meditate or like read and go on your walks to be able to then deal with the crap that life has to throw at you.
Hmm. No, I agree. I feel like we have to surround ourselves with a few coping mechanisms because
Yeah.
now the amount of like sort of stimulus we have from different sources has increased so much.
Yes. Yeah,
The
it's damn.
traffic, the social media noise, just
Right.
the bad news,
Yes.
the points that could stress us, I think just have increased over time.
Yes.
So it is important then to be able to do different things. What do you do to just kind of outside of meditation to feel better, to cope better?
I just lie down on the floor and stare at the fan.
Really?
Yeah. I have mastered the art of doing nothing. So
That's
when I have
brilliant.
to do something, then I'm, focused on it. And apart from like family life keeping me a little occupied, and when I have work to read my scripts or just think about something or do a little bit of exercise, that's all I do. So it feels like time is really slow and the day is very long. But before you know what's what, like 20 years go by.
Wow. And what have the last 20 years felt like?
Pretty good. It just felt like one crammed after hours. It's like 20 years have gone by with like um, yeah, uh, I had to punch in my age for one ticket, right? So this person said, "Can you send me your age and this thing?" And I was about to punch in 28, and I realized, no, I'm 41. So so it was really weird, and
Yeah.
this happened like a couple of months ago.
Hmm.
So yeah,
But
this
what makes you feel perhaps that the last decade or so has been a blur?
a lot of stuff happens. I mean, like I've been married for about 11 years now, 10 years now, and that's a nice conscious shift that a person takes because you sort of leave the life you knew you had
Hmm.
to focus on then starting a family and this thing. And Nandini Shrikent and me, we're a good partnership too. We have our home production, which is just a home running the house.
Yeah.
Um, and then at
That's an
some
important
point, that's an
production.
important production,
Yeah.
buddy. And then there are times where family members need a certain focus
Hmm.
on health and stuff. Sometimes you need that
Hmm.
school and then fit in work in the middle of that. And it's great. But at the same time, when there are sort of like summer holidays and we go out or we go with another family out somewhere, those are experiences that are really enriching.
Hmm. How does life change after marriage, given that you've been married for 11 years? I'm curious because I'm not, and it's a question I like to ask.
Well, I think m- it's very different from living together. Like in living together, like, the exit sign is right there. But the moment you get married, the exit sign goes somewhere you don't even know. Where's the exit? You
Hmm.
know, and uh, and it is all the cliches people say it is. All the jokes that you hear, it's that only. But it's now I understand why people have like a huge wedding because you're actually putting two universes together, and then that you know those that pair then make another universe.
Hmm. It's a world of your own that you create.
Yes.
But if marriage is, as you're saying, um, the cliche,
Yeah.
typical
Sure.
sort of, definition that we ought to have, known or seen, why do people still choose this institution?
Well, there are a couple of things. Man is also somewhat of an addictive creature. When I say addictive, we are addicted to the habits we have and the norms that you've grown up with. So what you see is the reality you know. So you want to play those parts out in that manner. To be able to go against the grain takes a fair amount of effort
Fair.
and then do you really want to sacrifice such belief systems?
Hmm.
So I think that's where it's like when you grow up and you see things and you see uncles and aunties and people and their children, you feel like, oh yes, life is like this.
Hmm.
So you go ahead and play those parts out again.
Hmm. But would you recommend it as a decision?
I think people should definitely start families. They don't necessarily have to be married to have their own family.
Hmm.
I think a man could evolve a little more into the do's and don'ts of a married lifestyle. And I mean, like, where do you take your time off? Where does each partner take their time off? There are no written rules actually
Hmm.
on what is considered a good marriage or what is considered a
I would
flawed.
imagine that just someone feeling happy and wanting to stay in it every day
Yeah.
would reassure that this was perhaps the right choice.
Mm, that's a great point, Bani. Although, like, things like happiness are a little, for me, overrated um, feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's fairly impossible to just be happy
all
at
the time.
certain point. Yeah, I mean, even the color spectrum is broken up when you see a rainbow, right? So, like, they're different colors, and you feel them all in the day. So, my son Fateh, when he sometimes in the evening, he's like, "Papa, I'm feeling sad," and I'm like, "Yeah, but roll with it. It's if you're feeling sad for 5, 10 minutes, just
How old
enjoy
is your
feeling
son?
7.
You're telling a 7-year-old roll with the
Yeah, of
sadness.
course. If you feel sad for a little while, just it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. You weren't sad like 5 minutes ago. I've been sitting with you,
Yeah,
you know. But if the light has changed, if you're tired,
yeah.
obviously that little melancholy sort of creeps in. It's like that film Inside Out, right? So
Hmm.
like,
It's a great film.
yeah. So it. I think we've gotten too caught up on what should life be like. It's we want to learn many things, but we don't want to unlearn stuff. That's hard to do.
Yeah, that's true actually. And so much of learning gets stunted perhaps because we are not unlearning.
Yes, yes, because the RAM is only that much, like the
Yeah.
GB. Like when you buy a phone, you're like, okay, I'll either go for the 32 or the 56 or the 128 GB. You're blessed with only that much. You can only,
You can
like,
only
if you're going
grasp
to
that
acquire
much.
some, you're going to leave some.
Yeah.
It's like your cupboard also.
What have you left behind as a thought process or as like your innate belief systems to make room for new ones?
I would like to leave behind, yeah, something of just chill, breathe through it. You don't have to do things all the time.
Hmm. The hustle culture
Yes.
promotes doing something all the time.
Yes. Yes, that's a flawed concept. That really is a flawed concept. You need to be able to complete your thought. You need to be able to waste time.
You need to be able to waste time.
Yes, gee.
What would could you elaborate that?
Um, uh, it's something that I was reading about, like the Japanese design uh, book, right? Like in order to, like, you gotta be, you gotta have emptiness,
Hmm.
and thanks to the emptiness, then something can be filled in.
Hmm.
But if everything is full all the time, how you gonna
Yeah, make
put
room.
make room for new things? So yeah, that's what I would like to leave behind, or like people to understand that it's okay. And when we work, then you work full on. Like when you have a shoot date, or like you when you're juggling your podcast and real estate and life in general, in 24 hours you could do a lot.
Yeah.
But you don't need to do that every day, all day.
Yeah. I'll take that with me.
Yes, please.
I'll take that
Yeah.
advice.
It's not mine. It's just something I
Yeah.
picked up.
No, I feel like I don't think you derive too much good out of spreading yourself too thin all the time. I don't think that's a consistent. You can't do it consistently. It You will reach a point where it's just going to get a bit much.
Burnout.
Yeah, just not a great thing to experience,
Yeah.
because
And
then it takes so long to get back to your
yeah.
sort of normal state.
And what do you think is character? Like when people talk about someone's character?
I think the ability to be able to make decisions that are objectively and morally correct in times of distress, to me, represent good character.
That's very well said. Yeah,
I think that
that's
would
true.
be my definition of good character. I think that's how I separate, or would be able to separate, a person with great character from one who perhaps gives in to their desires,
Yes.
you know, cannot somehow manage to rein in his or her emotions, um, whether it's rage or whether it's disappointment or anger. I, there's a quote, and I say it very often, that it says, between stimulus and response there lies a gap, and that is where all of your wisdom lies. So I think being able to exercise that wisdom, to me, would represent good character.
Right. Yeah, that's very well said.
What to you is good character?
I mean, I'd like to steal what you've just said. I mean, I, also why I asked is because you feel you know someone, like someone in your life, right?
Yeah,
But then when they're overwhelmed, they behave differently.
yeah.
And that difference in character sort of like, you're like, hey, one second, what's happened? You're not yourself. But
Mm.
it's all part of us.
But tell me something. You said that you have to empty yourself to be able to,
Gee, yes,
like, take
yes.
good things in, right? And develop yourself. How do you do it as an actor? Like, let's say you've been doing a particular character for a while, and then you almost have to extract that out of yourself. And I don't know what your acting sort of process is, so maybe you can tell me a little about that.
Oh, sure.
And then tell me how you kind of get into the new sort of character. Because I would imagine that requires a little bit of disassociation, a little bit of emptiness, and then
Yes,
filling it
you're
with
right.
something else.
Do you act as well?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not at all.
It is that um, when I read a new story or a script, let's say we're doing a play,
Hmm.
so you read the scenes, and obviously you're reading it with your lens, which is like Neil.
Hmm.
But so the first few times I read it will still be like Neil reading this part.
Hmm.
But with time, you realize you have to understand the sort of the cultural reference of the character,
Hmm.
because the character would have been brought up very differently from how I was brought up.
Hmm.
The character would be born in a different land,
Yeah.
so what I know is different. So then you start walking towards the character.
Hmm.
So I'll give you one example. I sat in on a workshop where these two actors were doing a scene from Betrayal, Harold Pinter's Betrayal, where the wife tells the husband that she's been having an affair with his best friend.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see that the actors initially were hesitating to say those lines, but the writers written those lines. And at the end of that scene, they sort of get back to like, are you gonna be there for the child's birthday? And they get back into like the um, talking about the general goings of life. So the scene between those two characters is not heavy. It's not like, oh shit, how do I tell my partner that I'm having a relationship with their friend, right? So it was nice to watch the actors do it again and again and breathe through it. From playing it as their personal judgments, which I would have done as well, to then only letting go of all of that and only committing to the dialogue as it was.
I think you did something similar in Tedi Medhi also.
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
It wasn't a heavy sort of
yes,
scene, I feel like,
yeah,
because I watched it. My
yes,
friend has
our
directed it.
common friend.
Yeah, common friend Priyanka.
Yes,
We must mention her.
thanks, Priyanka, for this.
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. But even in that,
Mm,
when you're all kind of sitting at the table
yeah,
and, there is sort of, without giving too much, there's this discussion about,
uh-huh,
let's say, a betrayal. It's not a heavy scene. It's not like, it's not dramatic.
yeah,
We can't say it wasn't heavy, but we can say it was not particularly
sure.
dramatic. What is your idea of this sort of new aged nuance in acting, right? Where we're not dramatizing everything a lot anymore, not like at least it used to be.
This is an awesome question. Bani, the thing is, I think my technology has changed the rhythm of acting.
Interesting.
You see, now, back in the day when people were doing Shakespeare, they would go to hear a play because your seats are so far back,
Hmm.
like on stage, you can't see anything. So you're going to just hear it, right? So it's like a podcast happening.
Hmm.
Now, if you watch our films, which were made in like the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, cameras were really big.
Hmm.
They didn't have the, right now you got three cameras
Hmm.
on us, yeah? Three sort of like, they're that big. And
Hmm.
if you want, they could move.
Yeah.
But then it would be like stationed, and that thing has to be done. If you need to like this thing, then the actor needs to step up.
Yeah.
Or they would talk to each other like that. Like there'd be a character there and the camera is here and the person would be talking to you like that.
Hmm.
So that dictates the grammar of performance. Now if you have something and we're chatting about something, you tell me some news like a revelation, then you're gonna have like a dolly
Yep.
track come in. So that's what helps your it's a dance. It's a dance between the technology that we have available and how we want to portray that story.
Very
So
interesting.
that's why
I
it's
actually
become
hadn't
known.
thought of it like that at all.
Yes, it is. It's
Hmm.
technology has a huge part to play in how something is then narrated.
You don't seem to be someone, speaking of technology, who loves technology, if my research is correct.
Well, you are right. I sort of love technology, but I don't let it consume me. So after the film NH10, I went off. I didn't have a smartphone for 5 years.
You had a no.
I had a sort of like it was my pager, and my family and friends all knew that. So if there was any, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm a pop star, not a doctor. So I never need to save anybody. If it's something urgent, just call me. Don't WhatsApp me or Facebook or Instagram. Just call me.
I don't think, the fact that you even mentioned Facebook right now means that you don't engage on social media at all because nobody is doing
I'm a bit,
Facebook at
yeah.
all.
No,
No,
I
not
get
anymore.
my friends' birthday updates, and then I
It's
message them, and they're
only
so
for birthday
happy.
updates.
They're like, "Oh, thanks, you remembered." I didn't tell them that like I actually got a prompt from Facebook. So
It's useful for that.
my phone doesn't have Instagram. I have it on like an iPod. Basically, I like to lead a life where you have one device for one activity, not like a supermarket,
Hmm.
because I think that disturbs you a lot. And also, I was born in 83. And for me, when in the 90s, to have a computer at home was like a huge thing. Like you could come home, sit down, and then check your messages. You're not doing it when you're walking across the road. You're not doing it when someone's talking to you.
Hmm.
You settle down, yeah? You carve out 20 minutes or half an hour, and you sit down and you're on a focused, this thing. Even the faff talk is all focused. That was a great life. And I want that.
You gave in, but you're on WhatsApp now.
Yeah, I am.
You sound so disappointed.
I'm very upset with it. I'm very upset. I moved to then a smartphone again about a year and a half ago. Hey Bhagwan, it's just like I'm just like, man, everybody can now get in touch with me whenever they want.
Oh.
Yeah. Everybody else's anxiety I can read. So by all means, everybody else owns me except me. What I do is like I put my phone on, I put my phone off in the night and I keep it somewhere else. And then in the morning after dropping Fateh to school, or even if there's no school, like an hour later, I put it on.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
I can speak from my own personal sort of experience that uh, I think I'm one of those people who just is on their phone pretty much all the time. Like a lot of my work happens through the phone, and even sometimes I feel like I almost make the excuse of work to be on my phone, which is not a good habit at all to have. But yeah.
But it's just something that gives us a sense of purpose.
Hmm.
But this is what I'm saying about like, it's a product. It's not a telephone. It's a product. It has been designed with the focus of it. Once you pick it up, they don't want you to put it down. And they have been successful at that.
Yeah, very immensely.
You know, like going to trying to tell people that your product is actually wasting a huge amount of human hours is like going to a tobacco company and telling them that smoking is bad for them. They're just like, no, it's okay.
Hmm.
Everything is fine. Everything is all right. So also these things they don't come with like Spider-Man quote is with great power comes great responsibility. The point is like your phone is do you have it close by?
Not
No.
right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, it's about that big, right? A
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
The processor in it 40 years ago was a four-story building, was the size of a four-story building. Just because with time they could make it microscopic doesn't mean you need a supercomputer in your pocket all the time.
Very well said.
People can't go for a walk without it.
I
You
am
go to the
people.
loo. Yeah, but the thing, but
Yeah.
this is, and we're not the smartest species on the planet. Yes, we have put ourselves on top of the pyramid because no other animal is making a pyramid. But you're the same, one is the same as any sort of living being, right?
Hmm.
So, so these are the things. Like I was also watching the show on Netflix, Abstract, and there was one episode about Ian, the person who redesigned Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and there was another gentleman whose name escapes me, a designer. He was the one who invented the infinite scroll.
Yeah.
So in that episode, he says, you know, when an issue comes to us, our job is to deal with that issue. You don't have the foresight to see what could happen in the future. So they invented the infinite scroll because obviously people don't want to click to page 2, page 3, page 4. They've not found what they're looking for, but they had no idea that a human being wouldn't have its own cutoff time.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
just weird, you know.
Existentialism has been gained from the last few minutes
You
of
know,
this conversation.
Anna?
Now we've set the bar so low because on social media today, you get so much validation for being either silly or
Yeah.
outlandish or even outrageous. Now, anyone who's having like a normal, sane conversation
Yeah.
could perhaps come off as intellectual because it's just we're consuming garbage,
Yeah.
literally.
And I think it's fine, but I don't think I'm okay. I love the content. I love the garbage that's there, but I just
Yeah,
don't need to know it all the
all the
time.
time. Fair. I think that's a much healthier way of
Gee, yeah.
kind of, entertaining yourself also.
Yeah, it just confuses you.
Yeah.
You know so much and you feel helpless because you can't do anything. How are you going to stop someone from sending missiles? But now you know that's happening, so
I agree. You spoke of Einstein while you were talking about how you were sort of not on a smartphone for many years after. I want to talk a little bit about that movie just because I come from, the NCR region. One of the powerful lines that really stayed with me from that movie was that Gurgaon ke aage ka Haryana bahut alag hai,
yeah,
right? Like
yes,
outside of the highways,
yes,
the in general, I think India is very different outside of the metropolitan cities as well, which is why I actually loved that movie. I've seen it twice. I think the also sort of the angle of avenging her partner's sort of death, uh, to show a woman with that kind of
yeah.
um, power almost, but of course it came from a place of helplessness, I imagine. What was that experience like working on that film with Anushka?
Anushka Sharma is one of my all-time favorite actresses. She's a magnificent person. And Mr. Navdeep Singh, our director, the vision and clarity he had. I had seen his film Manorma 6 Feet
Yeah, Six
Under
Feet Under. Yeah,
long
Abhi
time
Deol,
ago. Yes, I had seen it at Gaiety Galaxy Theatre in Bombay. Uh, and I remember, and that's not when I wanted to be an actor. Like, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. But I was in college and I saw it and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. What a film. And then so many years later, I get a call to be part of this film.
Hmm.
I read the script. I thought it was fantastic. I was just like, wow. And Mr. Navdeep Singh also showed me some of his work, which I thought was very generous of him in terms of how most of his ads, it's in the interiors of India. So it's not so much of an urban landscape, but
Hmm.
it's more of a rural landscape. And to then have this story go through the geography of this
Yeah.
was tremendous. We had a bunch of workshops, Anushka and I, because we're both performers, but our training is different. I train for stage, like theater, and Anushka Sharma's is like a really large scale narrative and munch, so to
Yeah.
speak, which she's nailed it over there. So then to give us some common vibe, we did that. Um, yeah, I mean, like, there seems to be rage. I mean, humans are anyway going through rage. I feel there is a certain, maybe it's from generations ago, but of invaders coming in
Mm-hmm.
and being, suddenly you go into cobra mode and like,
Yeah.
whoa, oh, is someone coming to take my family away or what? So maybe that sort of fight or flight is a little more perhaps in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always intrigued to understand what also between the sexes, male and female, why is it okay where some people feel that they can be aggressive?
Hmm.
Why? We're all Indians. But why? Are some areas concentrated on grave injustice that happens repeatedly over generations?
Yeah.
And you could blame pornography, you could blame Chinese, you could blame anything. But the fact of the matter is, there's something in the way a human is being brought up in a certain land that is tweaking their moral compass.
Yeah. And in our moral compass, of course, I feel like, I mean, every 15 minutes in India, a woman gets raped if the stats are, you know. Correct. If what I'm
Yes,
quoting is correct.
I
That's
believe
the
that
last
is
thing
it.
I read.
Hmm.
But it is greatly unfortunate. I think we've conditioned perhaps in our country, our men to believe that they'll just get by.
So I don't know. It's like a human lifespan is also like, I mean, you will live to be 103, Bani, but that's still not
I
enough,
don't
you
know if
know?
I want to.
No, but that's still not enough. How
Yeah.
would you, if you actually want to tweak systems and understand things for complete longevity, um, and we're living a very now instant gratification life. We want, like, you want a bridge put up, we put up a bridge by day after tomorrow, but that bridge is going to fall,
Yeah.
and it has fallen, you know?
The instant validation is a very scary sort of space to be in. I think that
Yes.
today, I mean, now that we're talking about it, whether it's social media, whether it's the dating app culture, I think everybody is quite
Yeah.
accustomed to feeling validated, immediately, and then that's what they sort of start seeking. And one has to be greatly sort of mindful of that. Is that why you don't use social media?
Gee.
But don't you think, like, for an actor, that's an important medium to earn money?
No, I mean, for me, to earn money as an actor, you need to act, you know?
Fair.
I don't
Yeah.
need to sell a product or myself. Like, I need to jam with a director, a producer, camera people, lighting, sound. These are the ninjas that go to work, and you work and you make something. And that's how you make characters, you know? Things like Shahenshah, things like iconic things that people remember, you know? Acting is my passion and my trade. So
Yeah.
I work on stage, I do plays, and I do camera work.
But tell me, when you're in between projects, right?
Yes,
It's not a consistent 9 to 5 kind of job. It's the job security in acting or in creative professions in general is low because you don't know when you're getting the next project, right? I
that's
think
right.
that's why people resort to this
Yeah,
medium, because it's kind of easy money because you're
yeah.
making the most of your popularity, but it doesn't tempt you at all.
No, I also have an old school belief that an artist needs to have an element of mystery.
Hmm.
If I see Bani's kitchen, then I will relate to it, but then there's something that is gone,
Hmm.
you know? I don't want to see where you live, because then I won't buy the illusion that you're trying to create every time you play a series or a part. You see, there's a certain
Interesting.
mystery.
Yeah.
Like, you're a magician, right? And a magician cannot reveal their secrets all the time. So I feel if you really want longevity in this line, you got to have the right balance of public attention and your downtime and your hiding away.
And you like the fact that you get the privacy then
Yes.
when you're traveling with your
Yeah.
family or you're just
I
doing
mean,
your
I
own thing.
always like when someone recognizes me. Just like then they're like, "Arey, why did I go and say hi?" Because then I'm chatting. Acha, where are you flying to? And
Well,
what's your
I'm sure
pet
they
name?
appreciate it only.
Yeah, it's good. It's also one of the lines. It's one of the few jobs that makes strangers your friends.
Yeah.
That and writing and music. The moment somebody knows you, they're very friendly with you. So I like that. But it's a like I wouldn't as of now if you're getting a salary for putting up a post for me, it's not like I'm offered that. But assuming that was the case, I would rather shoot 2 or 3 days and get the same amount because that's where I enjoy.
Yeah. That's what gives you joy. But that means you've never done a project for money.
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time. You can't, like the Eagles were wrong. Love won't keep you alive.
Yeah.
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 It can give you some clarity, no doubt, but you gotta balance out the thing. And you're right, like you don't like just before coming here, I signed a contract. That's my first contract in the year. Oh,
Congratulations,
thanks very
firstly.
much. The last time I signed a contract was October last year. So the industry's gone into a real slump, which then everybody is in the same boat, right? But it never goes to zero. you get like, as opposed to doing 3 projects a year, you're getting 1 project a year now.
Hmm.
And you know we're in trouble when the technicians are sitting at home and complaining. Like, what are you doing at home? No, I don't have any bookings. Okay.
That's so fascinating. I would have thought that with the OTT sort of platforms coming in, we're producing so much more content. But of course, I'm hearing it from the horse's mouth, so I would believe what you're saying because theoretically, people are saying that, yeah, the industry is suffering, and I wonder why.
So I was in Bangalore till the age of from 9 to 12, right? And football and hockey was big in the school that I was in. When I came back, when I came back to Bombay, got into a school, then cricket was pretty much the craze, at least in that school. And I was like, I want to play football. I want to play soccer, football. So then we did get one football from the school, and then we're playing football. Bani, wherever the ball is, everybody, including that guy, the goalie, who's supposed to be at his post, is running and trying to kick the ball. And I'm like, wow, these guys, like my classmate, like once I came back, I'm like, this gang does not play football,
Hmm.
right? They've all left their positions and just trying to get the ball. So you have a jund of people trying to get one ball. And that's not how you play the game. You got to stick to your posts. Sometimes the ball will come, sometimes it won't come. But in the game, you play your part. So the media is also like that game of football. Something interesting and new happens, everybody rushes there.
Hmm.
Then something else will open, and then everybody rushes there. It's tough because people, then it's hard to have faith and just be like, it's okay, have that tear out. Just stand your ground. It will happen. You need to do it, yeah, by all means, but don't like usse piche piche, like everybody's just
Yeah, everybody wants to be center
everybody,
forward in
everybody
hockey
is,
also.
suddenly, yeah, yeah. Do you play hockey? Did you play
I
hockey?
used to, yeah.
And you were center forward?
I was center forward,
Right.
but yeah.
I was a defender. I couldn't run so much. Just wait for the ball to come and then whack it. But that's what it is. Like I actually want to do comedy. I love Buster Keaton, Mr. Bean, Charlie Chaplin kind of comedy. But our industry is not making comedy.
Hmm. I haven't seen a good sort of comedy series or film come out in
Yes.
a while, actually.
Because then the people who are making stuff will say, like, let's make a thriller. Because a thriller gets you hooked. You're not just going to watch the first 2 episodes, you'll watch 4 seasons.
Yeah. But I also feel comedy is a very hard genre to crack.
It is. It is. But it's not impossible, and we are very good with comedy.
Yeah. I feel like the Indian stand up scene is really picking up. I go for a ton of shows and I really
Huh?
enjoy how artists have been reinventing themselves in that space. But yeah, comedy sort of content on platforms, films, haven't seen a great one in a while. I love the AIB crew.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
all very, very good, especially Tanmay and Rohan. Rohan is a friend, and I think he's hilarious.
Yes.
Kullu is another sort of artist who's amazing. Um, who else? I think English, Kanan Gill. Kanan Gill is
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
great
yeah.
comedian as well.
For me, like, I'm a mass media student, right? I wanted to get into advertising. I wanted to become creative director, and acting was not on the cards for a profession. So you learn about the internet, you learn about different things. How do you sell products and all of
Yeah,
that? And when YouTube came about, the first people who sort of put up their flag were the comedians,
yeah,
stand-up comedians, and I remember Russell Peters also getting to know who he was about thanks
yeah.
to the internet. When OTT happened, I was like, we should just get our stand-up comedians to write fiction. I know some of them are doing it, but I want more of them to do it,
Yeah,
and I want it to be more nuanced because the way they observe stuff, then you just have to jam with someone who can flesh that out,
yeah,
and you got a whole film
yeah.
or a series. So I would like our stand-up comedians to start a department where some amount of their year goes
Hmm.
into developing scripts for other people to play, like fiction.
Hmm. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
You've done a fair bit of work on the OTT platforms. Masaba Masaba, I think, was quite a fun one that I saw and really liked. How was working on that? Tell us some story that we don't know about.
Um, Sonam Nair is my director for Masaba Masaba. Pyar se we call her Chinky.
Hmm.
She told me that she was working on this one concept of like a fiction blended with reality. And I was like, wow, I have never been part of something like that, and I've not even seen much of that.
Yeah.
Then she told me that it is on Masaba Gupta's life. Before meeting Masaba only, I was a fan of hers. I thought like she was just really hardworking. She was immersed herself in the fashion world. Huge fan of her mother.
Neena ji is a
Her
legend.
lineage is fantastic.
Yeah.
So obviously, only a super human is going to be born and unleashed into this world, you
Agreed.
know? So, mm, so they told me the whole concept of it, and I'm like, wow. We read some scenes. Masaba and I had sort of jammed a bit, like we read a scene and recorded it. And I had met her only once personally. Like, I think we were flying back from Delhi to Bombay. And I thought that looked like Masaba. Then I asked the crew, I said, is that Masaba Gupta? So then I went up to her, introduced myself, sat next to her. We chatted through the flight. Um, we had, knew some common people, some common world. And then years later, this happened.
Hmm.
When I went to New York for the first time a couple of years ago, any person from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka had seen the show.
Love it.
Yeah. It was just the like I don't get recognized this much in Delhi also, as much as Masaba Masaba and Four More Shots Played.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Both these shows have sort of like put me out there where people know I exist. So it's been fantastic. And the uh, Sonam, our director, when I was getting styled, and Dodo, who does my styling most of the time, Pravina and Dodo, he said her brief was make him look rich. So I'm like, okay, thanks. That was the brief. It
No,
was
but
really
I think
fantastic.
it's a really fun show. I'm waiting. I'm hoping season 3 comes soon now.
I hope so too.
Any Neena ji story that comes to mind?
Mm, mm. While I was working on season 2, Neena ji's book Sach Kahun To had come about. Like, I mean, like it was released some time ago, so I managed to get a copy and I was reading it and got her to sign the book on set. Uh, and with Neena ji, I realized like one night we were doing a few night scenes. Um, Masaba was not feeling too well,
Hmm.
and Neena ji had just come in from America. She had like flown in about less than 48 hours ago.
Yeah.
So she's working. We're all working on a uh, night shoot, which is
Yeah.
quite taxing.
I would imagine so.
Her daughter is unwell. And she's got a monologue to deliver as well. So, there's so many things. And that's where you see the concern. Like, I mean, at the end of it, we are professionals, but sometimes when you're preoccupied, your personal mind is preoccupied.
Yeah.
It becomes very hard to execute the working day.
Yeah.
You can't take sick leave, then you have to show up
Yeah.
because you're the one on camera.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really nice. I mean, then all of us tried our best to like balance our time with Masaba, and then she rested as well. So, but I think Masaba is someone like if she, and I've said this before, if she decides to do 8 hours a day of electronic music from tomorrow every day, she would be one of the best DJs that India has to offer. She's an artist like that. Wherever she sets her mind to, she would do great.
That's amazing. Of course, I'm guessing you can't tell us anything of the new contract that you signed this morning.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Good day today. But What are you looking forward to doing currently?
Bani, I have now moved into another age bracket. So so the work, the shows you've seen me in, obviously those are gone. Now I will see from this age for the next 10 years what is the kind of work that comes my way. Half of the time it's villain work, but
I love that. I love the villain
it's
work.
not
I think it's
bad.
very interesting.
Yes, it is.
I think that it takes a little bit of sort of gravitas to play a good villain.
Perhaps, and some great background music.
Yeah, background music is very important.
Very important.
Perhaps the only thing that worked in that animal film.
Yes. Yes,
Everything
yes,
else was
yes.
quite questionable.
Uh-huh.
BGM was 100 on 100.
I'm waiting to watch the film.
You can miss it.
No, I'll watch it. One day when I'm traveling, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So I have a dear friend, Siddhant Karnik, in the film as well, so I have to watch it. But you had asked me something which, what am I looking forward to? So I do a new play every year, like at least that's my wish list. Monsoon is off season for our work, right?
Yeah.
Because unless you're shooting abroad or in a studio, you can't shoot outside.
Yeah.
So you got to get work in the first half before monsoon and the second half. So I've been working on a new play called The Nether, written by an American writer, Jennifer Haley. It's a sci-fi dystopian world, a world without trees, and everybody's pretty much on their virtual lifestyle. You know, people
Wow.
live virtually for about 16 hours a day.
That's very interesting.
Yes. And then what's the right and wrong over there?
Tell me something. You love theater. You've kind of expressed that that is your passion.
It's my passion, yeah.
How does it make money? I'm really trying to understand the economics of it.
You can try and steal a printer from an office and sell it. That's how you can make some money.
But because, I went for a play recently.
Right.
And I saw, the tickets are not that expensive, right? So I counted the number of people who would come for it. And I did the math and I'm like, okay, they have to pay for the lighting person, they have to pay for the
Yeah.
auditorium, they have to pay for
Yeah.
the actors. And
Yeah.
I'm not understanding how this is breaking even.
Yeah, the actor gets about 7 rupees a show.
Even then,
You don't
it
even
didn't
know when
make
I'm joking.
sense. Yeah.
Correct.
No, even then it didn't make sense. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's assume everyone's just doing this for pure passion.
Yeah.
And taking very, very little. But just the logistics of it and, renting a
See,
theater, the light guy,
yeah.
the sound person, I don't know, I couldn't understand it. So I wanted to have you perhaps explain it to me. Outside of the actor
Yeah,
getting
sure.
7 rupees,
Yeah, that's a
one
lot.
banana.
Sometimes we split a banana. Yeah, no, you don't get paid. Yeah, I mean, it'll cover your little transport and a coffee or something.
Really?
Yeah. But you're
And
not
yet people
doing,
continue to do it with so
Jay,
much passion.
you see, because have you watched a play that you liked anytime in your life?
I have.
Which one?
I mean, I haven't seen that many, but
Koi
recently
baat
I
nahi.
saw Manav Kaul's play Trasadi, where
Okay.
it's like a solo tragedy act, which I really, really liked. It's just him on stage emoting for about an hour. And he's telling the story of, this guy who's kind of lost his mom. Very, very,
Did it
very.
make you feel anything?
Yeah, I cried.
You cried?
Yeah. But that was also a house full, I think maybe because it was in Hindi and maybe
But
because
it
he
tapped
has a,
into an emotion, right?
it did tap into an emotion.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about. You see, to better society, the only thing that can cure society is the arts.
Hmm.
Even architects are artists, right? And that's why actors, musicians, writers, architects need patrons.
Hmm.
If everybody is out, if everybody, which is what the world we live in, अच्छा तू अपना देख ले. You manage your own rent and everything. You're not going to get fantastic writing. You're not going to get fantastic music or fantastic performances or fantastic structures that an architect can build because everybody's trying to just earn their own living.
Architects are making a lot of money, I can tell you.
Oh, sure. But here's the thing.
More
It's
than performing artists.
what? No, no doubt, no doubt. We could, yeah, yeah. But there are a lot of them who just work in regular jobs of architecture, right? The point I'm trying to make is the structure of society. See, you have two options of this living.
Yeah.
Either you in the matrix, which is what we are, or you live like Mowgli. Those are the only two options of being a human being in this life as we know it. Now, the mere fact that we're not Mowgli, not in the jungle, means we've said okay to this structure of life.
Yeah.
That means you're sehmat with everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. But there is, in the quest for associating happiness and evolution of the soul with only money, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. You will make your money, but your laughter will be reduced.
Yeah.
You probably die a little before time, you know? Not you, but one would.
Yeah.
So, and it's something you had mentioned the word mindful earlier in the previous segment we were talking about. Stuff like this doesn't come autopilot. You see, not too long ago, um, I went to. I remember like old age being like you give up everything and you sit under a tree. That's a kind of like, and this is in my lifetime, right? But somewhere in the last decade, it's been about just achieving more. Let's get 10% more. Let's get 15% more. If we can do this, it needs to go everywhere, you know? So that's the thing. And there are times I myself trip up. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Why am I doing this play if I'm not going to be compensated
Yeah.
that great
Banana and a
extent?
coffee.
Banana and a coffee, man. Totally. Acting is also like playing tennis.
Mm.
When you sign a contract, you've got a chance in Wimbledon. But you can't just go and start playing every time only you get a contract. You get to keep practicing.
Yeah.
On your
True.
days off, you got to practice.
Very
It's a
true.
sport. Your body is your instrument. You gotta you're playing your job as an actor is that of a professional human being.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you say that All About Eve After Hours is deciding to make a film. You would have come with a text, with the thing that I need to imbibe and understand.
Yeah.
I have to apply myself to it. And in order to execute those jobs that come by once in a while, you need to practice. You need to read. You need to take it easy. You need to be there for people, all that stuff.
And also enjoy wasting time.
Dude, if I could make a living out of wasting time, I would be a millionaire.
What do you do besides wasting time to unwind after hours? It's a question we ask everyone.
I um I do origami, which is like 6 to 10 minutes a day.
Oh, that's very lovely,
Yeah, I
actually.
do. And so I make cranes and stuff. So I do that. I read a bit. Um, yeah, I don't. I do little bits of unwinding. Don't do big chunks. And thanks to my job, I get a change of scene
Yeah.
now and then. So I have to go somewhere. I came back into the city yesterday. I was in Kamshet
Mm.
by the lake. The last time I went there, it took me 2 days to acclimatize. Why? Because like my soul, like my energy was like tup 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 tup. Like I was like, oh wow, now I'll have to just wait. I just have to wait for something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and speaking of sustenance, the first time we chatted, I googled. I'm like, what can actors do between jobs?
I
And
remember
I
this
swear,
conversation.
what do you remember me
Real
saying?
estate agent.
Be an assistant
Yo.
to a real estate agent. So I'll just come and stand with you and I'll be like, yes, yes, yeah. This is ma'am's business card. That's our podcast.
You know, the day Neil Bhoopalam is walking around with me handing my business card, I
Yeah.
think that would be like a very momentous day in my life.
Yeah, no, and mine. It would like skyrocket my sustenance.
Okay, Neil, we're going to quickly wrap up with a
Yeah.
quick game.
Yeah,
So you have to
sure.
give like rapid answers, okay? And
Okay.
it's a game of would you rather.
Okay.
Okay. So would you rather be on Big Boss or would you rather be unemployed for 3 months?
Tricky. Be on Big Boss.
Be on Big Boss?
Yeah.
You wouldn't say no to Big Boss?
No, if the timing is right, I'd be okay with it.
Very interesting. Okay. Would you rather spend your life homeless or in prison?
Homeless.
Would you rather play a good guy
Uh-huh.
or just like a full blown villain?
It would be the right. I would be interested in the full-blown villain, but it needs to be backed with some amazing writing
Hmm.
because the writer is the one who actually makes the performer
And good BGM for the
and
villain.
good background score. Yeah,
Yeah.
background music. Correct.
Background music. Yeah. And would you rather now prep for a great like uh box office release or just like a good OTT?
Can I do both?
You can do both.
Thank you.
You can do both.
Yeah, I would like to have the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
which is what's been happening
Yeah.
of late.
Yeah. I think now the space has gotten very interesting for actors.
Yeah.
Diverse stories,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
diverse mediums.
Yes, Bani, you're absolutely right. I mean, the mere fact you asked me to be on your show is like, I'm so excited. I was like, wow, okay, cool. But then when you said no, don't come with any preconceived notions. Just come and just enjoy yourself, just relax, and we go with the flow. I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
So did you enjoy yourself? I hope
Very
you
much,
did.
yeah. I'm feeling a bit bad that it sounds like I can hear it in your voice that it's coming to an end. I love the art that you have here. I
No,
love the microphone.
but it is an unfortunate, but we'll catch up again and have more interesting conversations. But thank you for coming. Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Bani.
It was a very, very fun chat.
Thank you, thank you,
Look
thank you.
forward to seeing more things that you do.
Yes, yes. I'll see you in Bombay again.
Yes. Thanks.